I got divorced from Blaze. And on our wedding anniversary, we completed all the divorce procedures. The staff member at the Civil Affairs Bureau who handled our divorce procedures probably saw our previous registration records in the system. With a poker face, he asked, "Is this a coincidence or did you deliberately choose this date?" Blaze didn't say anything, so I answered for him. "We deliberately chose it. It's good to have a beginning and an end. 7 years ago, when we got married, I wore a red outfit, which matched the bright red marriage certificate perfectly. Today, 7 years later, I'm dressed all in black. Even my earrings are black. I'm holding a funeral for our marriage." During the process of handling the procedures, neither of us talked much, and the staff member also remained silent. We left as soon as we got our certificates. Standing at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Blaze extended his left hand and politely said goodbye to me. Facing the scorching sun in the early summer, the dazzling sunlight was so intense that I couldn't open my eyes. I didn't look at him, but reached out and held his left hand. Suddenly, I felt the scar on his left middle finger. And my heart skipped a beat. That scar was left by me. Although it was an unintentional mistake, it fulfilled my obsession. It was the result of my losing control and extreme anger. I still remember that night clearly. He came back from a social gathering drunk. He was in a state of chaos and madness after drinking. So much so that the text message he sent to his lover was accidentally sent to Sunny's kindergarten class group. "Good night, Siren. My love." It was also accompanied by a cute little emoji of 2 ducks saying goodnight. At that time, we had been married for 6 years. He hadn't said goodnight to me for a long time. Nor had he said he loved me for ages. And that Siren had existed even before we got married. She was a so-called, very close sister in Blaze's words. Indeed, their relationship was very close. They had been entangled with each other even after getting married to other people for so many years. At that moment, I couldn't control the anger in my heart. This wasn't the first time I had discovered their chat records. Once before, I accidentally saw Blaze sending a photo of Sunny to her. Somehow, I felt something was wrong. That night, while he temporarily left his phone unlocked, I clicked on Siren's profile picture. There weren't any explicit words. It was mostly just daily life sharing, from morning till night, about what they wore, what they ate, and taking care of and walking their kids. But at that moment, my hands and feet turned cold. Another time, Siren called him on voice chat late at night. And I saw the caller ID. Blaze pretended nothing was wrong. He stood on the balcony in a thin shirt in the middle of winter and talked to her for 40 minutes. When he came back to the room and I asked who it was, he said, "A client." This seemingly ordinary and harmless desire to share was like a naked confession, and more like a colorless and odorless poison, melting into the other person's life and gradually devouring a person's heart bit by bit. I hated this kind of relationship with the opposite sex that lacked any sense of distance. I questioned him. I was angry. But obviously, it was all in vain. On the night he was drunk, I smashed his phone and hit him several times violently. But I still wasn't satisfied, and Blaze, even in such a drunken state, still managed to get up and pick up the phone, holding it tightly in his hand. My rationality couldn't overcome my emotions. I uncontrollably rushed over to snatch the phone from him. Blaze was laughing like a madman. But he still held on tightly. It was only when my fingers almost cramped from prying that I managed to pull the phone away. I trembled as I opened WeChat. Siren had sent a message, but the chat window showed the Do Not Disturb icon. Blaze actually knew how to deceive himself. All the previous records had been deleted. The latest 2 messages were just sent by Siren. "You have to be good. Did you hear me?" Blaze probably saw that my expression was getting uglier and uglier, and he reached out to snatch the phone back. My anger was rising. I was about to lock him in the room. Just then, Blaze's hand happened to be on the metal latch of the door lock. I grabbed the doorknob and slammed the door shut. I heard a scream. When I turned around, I saw his finger was badly injured by the door lock, with blood gushing out. That scene still lingers in my mind until now. After that, he restrained himself for a while. But the good times didn't last long. When Siren got divorced, he started secretly contacting her on and off again, in an unclear and improper way. I was really tired, so I took the initiative to propose a divorce. And he readily agreed. Just like that. I held his left hand and touched the hypertrophic scar, standing under the scorching sun in the midsummer. Sorry for leaving this scar on your hand. I choked up, but managed to hold back my tears. It's okay. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession, it's all in the past. When I see this scar in the future, I'll think of you. Then it's better not to see it. Find a chance to get the scar removed someday. Blaze actually laughed. A relaxed and carefree laugh. A comfortable and calm laugh. I let go of his hand, put on my sunglasses, and said, from now on, except for matters related to Sunny, don't contact me if there's nothing else. Before he could answer, I left first. In this lonely moment, I still want to save my last bit of dignity. Sunny, our son. His custody was given to Blaze. It's not that I'm heartless and don't want to raise the child, nor that I can't afford to. It's out of full respect for the child. This was Sunny's own choice. At that time, when our son faced the question from me and Blaze, he looked at us several times before saying in a very soft voice, I want to be with Dad. Well, all of them can leave. Leave me far away. I drove all the way from the Civil Affairs Bureau to Ben-Hai Avenue. It was a 90-kilometer drive. I drove to the trestle bridge by Ben-Hai Avenue with tears in my eyes. Amid the sound of the waves crashing against the rocks, I cried my heart out. After the divorce, life still goes on, and work still needs to be done. However, due to work, I still have to face Blaze, which makes me quite embarrassed. He and I are colleagues. We had frequent work contacts in the early years, and gradually, we fell in love with each other. At that time, he also chatted with me every day and shared things with me. He was meticulous about everything. Even when he had a stomachache and diarrhea in the hot summer and was on the toilet, he didn't forget to send me a WeChat message. Damn. It's so hot in the toilet. But why is it that now? He's sharing his daily life with another woman? I can't figure it out. And I don't want to anymore. Within half a month, everyone in the company knew that we had gotten divorced. Neither of us tried to hide it. When asked, we admitted it openly. Yeah, we got divorced. God knows how I was roaring in my heart when I answered them. It's none of your business. Amity, Cadena Lausai, a little sister in the office, felt indignant for me. The girl is shy by nature. Looking at me, she said, Sis, adding fulfilled wide sesh. Why don't we change jobs? I feel sorry for you seeing you like this. You're being asked about it all the time. And it never ends. I frowned and said, the job hasn't done anything to me. It pays me every month. Why should I change it? I got divorced. Not quit my job. Just like that. With more courage and perseverance than I expected, I firmly endured it for 3 months. During these 3 months, my girlfriends tried every means to introduce all kinds of high-quality men to me, ranging in age from their 20s to 40s. They all knew my temperament. I look at a person's appearance first. The appearance has to be decent. So the men they introduced to me were almost all good-looking and with normal sexual orientations. This time, I even added a special criterion. The height must be over 180 centimeters. Blaze isn't tall. Back then, it was just because I was blind that I let it pass. If I were to fall in love again in this life, I can't be blind anymore. And I don't want to settle for less. I met several of them, and they seemed okay. But I just couldn't get interested in having a passionate love affair anymore. Talking about my relationship with Blaze back then, it wasn't exactly passionate either. Looking back on all these years, it seems that I've always been the one giving to him, and he rarely took the initiative to reciprocate. The emotional value he provided me was very little. It can be seen that women can't be too kind, too considerate, and definitely can't love too much. Otherwise, men will take advantage of it. It was Friday. When I got off work, I received a call from Xiaomi, who came to pick me up to go to Heifer's bar. Tonight is our old sister Spark's birthday. She's throwing a party at Heifer's. She said that under the guise of celebrating her birthday, she actually wants to find a man for me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I said that you only have a birthday once a year. And today you're the most important. Don't worry about my business. Spark rolled her eyes and said, "What are you talking about? My birthday wish this year is to find you a super handsome guy. Someone with good looks and money. So that you won't be wronged anymore." Her words made my eyes feel sour. These days, it's still my sisters who I can rely on. To be honest, it was the first time I had ever entered a live house in my life. And I didn't have any suitable clothes. So I just wore my work commuting outfit. From a distance, I saw Spark waving at me and Xiaomi. The birthday girl was dressed up beautifully today. I was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and a beige-lined skirt, which made me look out of place. When Spark saw me, she clicked her tongue twice and pulled me to her side, whispering, "Having fulfilled my desire, why didn't you dress up a bit?" I said that I only had my commuting clothes. And I didn't have time to change since I came here right after work. It's okay like this. As soon as Xiaomi heard this, she tried to comfort me, saying that I shouldn't give up on myself just because I got divorced. And I shouldn't think that I'll never meet a good man again. Maybe the departure of the scumbag is making way for my mister. Right. But I know in my heart that my girlish heart has already withered away. The birthday party lasted until the early morning of the next day. It was really lively. I sat in the corner and watched a group of people laughing and chatting heartlessly. During the party, several men came over to drink with me. They all said they were Spark's friends or her boyfriend Harmony's friends. So I just chatted with them for a few words and added them on WeChat. That's all. However, occasionally when I looked up, I always felt that there were eyes on me. When I looked carefully, I couldn't find the person. When we were leaving, Spark was already very drunk. She hugged me and kissed me. While hugging me, she started crying. She didn't say anything, but I knew why she was crying. When I married Blaze, she was the first one to object. Because she always felt that Blaze wasn't good enough for me. At that time, I was so blinded by my so-called love that I was willing to sacrifice everything. In my current situation, the pain and hurt buried deep in my heart are tightly sealed when I face anyone. And they won't be easily touched. Except for her. I went to the beach and had a good cry after finishing the divorce procedures with Blaze that day. I called Spark. And as I was talking, I started wailing uncontrollably. After all these days, Spark hasn't mentioned the divorce to me. Nor has she deliberately soothed my emotions like others do. But I know that she cares about me more than anyone else. Just like that, she and I hugged each other in the nightclub and shed tears together. Harmony looked at the two of us and exclaimed, feigning jealousy, "Spark has been with me for so long and has never shed a tear for me. But she's crying so sadly while hugging you. Aurora, you're the true love of Spark." The two of us were crying our eyes out. But finally we burst out laughing with a chuckle sound. Spark and Harmony have known each other for many years and used to hang out together a lot. Harmony has also seen Spark date several boyfriends. But all those relationships ended without a happy ending. Later, she couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Just be with me. I'll treat you well." At that time, Spark was worried about getting out of her previous relationship and didn't think much about it. So she agreed. As a result, the more they dated, the more serious they became. And they were preparing to get married next. Harmony squinted her eyes and held a cigarette in her mouth. Seeing that the two of us were crying with tears all over our faces, she reached out to grab a tissue. But the tissue box on the coffee table was nowhere to be found. While looking around for it, suddenly a big hand stretched out, holding the tissue box and presenting it in front of Spark and me. When Harmony saw who it was, she grinned widely, showing her teeth. "Zephyr, you finally showed up." Spark also chimed in, "I haven't seen you come and have a couple of drinks with me to wish me a happy birthday all night. Now that I'm about to leave." Zephyr just runs out to hand over the tissues. This Zephyr is tall with long legs and is rather modest. He smiled and said, "Who made your birthday fall on such a good day? There are a lot of guests tonight. I guess they all came to celebrate your birthday. I was too busy to get away." With this joke, everyone laughed. Spark introduced me, "Aurora. This is Zephyr, the owner of this place. Do you have any impression of him? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is my first time here tonight. How? How could I have an impression of the owner here? Spark rolled her eyes and asked me, "Don't you think he looks familiar?" Only then did I dare to look up and face Zephyr directly. I did feel that I had seen him somewhere before. Zephyr also smiled at me and said, "Spark, aren't you making things difficult for her? We never even talked to each other when we were at school. Now you're asking her if she has an impression of me. How do you expect her to respond?" Harmony then explained from the side, "Zephyr is an alumnus of ours. We were in the same class at the affiliated middle school, and he was the captain of the school basketball team at that time." Only then did some faint memories come back to me. It seemed that I often saw his figure on the basketball court before. I nodded and exchanged some pleasantries as a greeting. Then Spark pulled me and walked outside, saying as we walked, "Your social circle is too narrow. You've been a good kid since you were a child. You didn't have a puppy love. Didn't play truant. And didn't even have a relationship in college. You only met someone who made your heart flutter after you started working. Which is why you were lured away by that bastard Blaze." This was the first time she had mentioned Blaze in several months. I said that I had already seen the error of my ways. And Spark gave me a look. "What were you doing so late?" This gathering came to a successful end in the evening breeze at the end of summer and the beginning of autumn. 7 men added my WeChat that night. When I opened my eyes the next day, there was another friend request on WeChat. The profile was very concise. Just 2 words, Zephyr. In a daze, I clicked to accept it. In the following month, the men who added me on WeChat kept initiating conversations. Some were very enthusiastic, while others were rather aloof. Only Zephyr's profile picture remained quiet throughout, with no messages at all. I just regarded him as an ordinary member among the various men that Spark had found. Until the night of the department team building event. Before the National Day holiday, the department supervisor saw that the long holiday was approaching and that everyone was in no mood to work. So, he simply organized a gathering for a meal and team building to enhance the relationship among the department colleagues. After the meal, everyone was still in high spirits. A young guy suggested going for a second round. And no one objected. I followed them and came to have Idsusis again. I didn't expect that they had decided on this place for the second round. Amity said that the live house here invites some independent bands every weekend. And it's very popular. It's extremely difficult to get a table. The new guy in our department really knows how to have fun. He actually managed to book a table here for the second round on a Friday night. I smiled and said, "It's great to be young. They can still have fun and are in the mood to do so. Unlike me, hadn't Jofilwybsai. It seems that my heart has been sealed with cement and remains unmoved." I turn a blind eye to the men's euphemistic or explicit expressions of affection. On this night, I felt the long-lost vitality and laughed particularly heartily surrounded by a group of young people. In terms of age, I'm not much older than them. But ever since I got divorced, I felt much older inside. And I've even become increasingly less confident, having a strong sense of self-doubt about myself. I'm very frustrated and unwilling. But it seems that I can't resist this feeling. And it lingers. Looking at these people in front of me cheering loudly and swaying their arms, I'm actually quite envious. A commotion broke my train of thought. Several drunk men suddenly rushed towards our booth and caused trouble. It was probably because the young guy in our department had interacted frequently with a girl on the dance floor, which had irritated them. Amidst a flurry of curses and the sound of glass bottles breaking, our department supervisor, a woman in her early 40s who was really nice, was afraid that the young people would cause trouble that couldn't be easily resolved. So, she bravely stepped forward to mediate. And we all followed. During the pushing and shoving, the drunk man became even more rowdy. He picked up a wine bottle and smashed it on the coffee table with a bang. Holding the broken piece of the wine bottle, he pointed at us and said, "Those who dare to mess with me, you bastards won't be able to leave tonight." The commotion was so loud that it attracted the attention of the people around, and they all looked over. The young and hot-blooded guy in our group wasn't willing to back down and was about to charge up and fight. He was held back by other colleagues. As a result, The other side became even more aggressive and started swearing and was also about to start a fight. When we were at a loss, a man walked through the crowd. Aurora? The man's voice was deep, and he called my name. I looked in the direction of the voice. And it was Zephyr. I had even forgotten that he was the owner of this place. Zephyr was wearing a black shirt and black trousers. His tall figure walked steadily towards me. Just these few steps brought back my few memories of him. At that time, when the high school basketball team had a game, those of us who did aerobics were often pulled to warm up for them. Spark met Harmony during that time. Because I'm naturally slow to warm up and not good at socializing, I was even more shy to talk to male classmates at that time. I always stayed quietly by the side and was pulled by Spark to watch Harmony play. Zephyr was the captain of the basketball team at that time. My impression of him, apart from his extremely tall stature, was nothing else. And at this moment, his height became the most effective way to overwhelm with his aura. As soon as he stood beside me, the man who had been shouting just now fell silent immediately. "What's going on?" Zephyr walked up to me and asked me in a low voice. There was no sense of estrangement. As if he was asking an old friend. I told him what had happened and briefly explained the situation. Zephyr probably noticed the nervousness and helplessness on my face. He smiled at me and gently soothed me. "It's okay. I'll handle it." He walked over and said a few words to the drunk man who was causing trouble, and then asked the resident manager to liven up the atmosphere. A man who had been causing trouble didn't dare to make further trouble because of Zephyr's imposing manner. Seeing that the two men who had been at loggerheads actually glossed over the matter with just a few words of mediation from Zephyr, the lively and cheerful atmosphere of the nightclub returned as before. The supervisor and several other colleagues all looked at me simultaneously and said that this friend of mine had quite a background and such a powerful aura. Zephyr walked towards me again in the crowd, his eyes shining brightly. "It's rare to see you here." He must have heard me say last time that I never go to nightclubs. I smiled and thanked him, saying that it was a dinner gathering of my department colleagues. "And they chose your place for the second round." He nodded. "Your colleagues have good taste." Zephyr and I started chatting in the noisy crowd. Although we had to shout to communicate, we enjoyed it. That night, Zephyr stayed by my side and didn't leave. My colleagues had a great time. And it was already past midnight when we left. Zephyr stood up and accompanied us out of Hephaestus. Everyone was still discussing how to get back. I wasn't on the same route as them. And I was just about to leave on my own when Zephyr spoke up. "I'll give you a ride." After he said that, everyone looked at me. "Somehow," I replied. "Thank you." He pointed to the parking lot, not far away, and smiled, saying, "Let's go. The car is over there." As I followed him towards the parking lot, I could feel the curious glances of my colleagues behind me. I was still lost in my thoughts and didn't notice that he suddenly stopped in front of me and turned around. I bumped right into his chest. "Little Aurora, you should watch where you're going when you walk," Zephyr said teasingly. And his husky voice came from above my head. I suddenly felt like laughing. I grinned and looked up, falling into his deep eyes. "You still look as beautiful as when you were a child when you smile." He was looking down. And I was looking up. When our eyes met, my heart, which had been sealed with cement, seemed to crack a little. On the way Zephyr drove me home. I thought of what had happened that night and sincerely thanked him. "Thank you for helping us out tonight. I didn't expect such a thing to happen. It's just a piece of cake. Don't mention it. We deal with this kind of thing often in the club. I've seen a lot of it. People get quite excited when they're drunk and don't remember anything when they sober up. Even if they do remember, they'll think they were being stupid." I asked if he was usually here at night. I said that being the owner, he must be quite tired. Staying up late every night. Zephyr smiled and replied to me, "I'm not here every night. I have other work during the day. I usually come here to take a look on weekends. It's quite a coincidence. I just arrived here a short while ago tonight and then met you. Indeed, it's also rare for me to be out and about so late. You looked like a good girl when you were in high school," Zephyr said as he drove. Looking ahead. High school is a distant memory. Do you still remember things from so long ago? Besides, we weren't in the same class back then. I remember. Although we weren't in the same class, adding fulfilled my obsession. I liked you when we were in high school. Zephyr said each word clearly and directly. Compared with the circuitous love affairs in our youth, the straightforward confession of an adult seemed sincere and straightforward. So much so that I didn't know how to respond for a moment. Did I scare you? Zephyr asked me with a smile. Me, no. I'm just thinking about how to answer. Zhu, no need to answer. I'm just stating the facts. And also, making up for the regret I had when I was young. Me, what regret? Zhu, I liked you. But I never chased after you, because your good friend Spark thought I wasn't a good person at that time and was afraid that I would affect your studies. I couldn't help but laugh. I said that Spark even blamed me for not having a puppy love. So it turned out she was the one who stopped it. Yeah. So she regrets it now and is trying her best to find someone for you everywhere. This reminded me of those men who added me on WeChat. Zephyr was the only one who hadn't made any moves since adding me as a friend until now. Since we met last time, you haven't sent me any messages after adding me on WeChat. Since he was so straightforward, I didn't beat around the bush either. Zephyr asked me, do the other people who added you on WeChat chat with you every day? I nodded vigorously. Zephyr asked again, do you feel a bit annoyed? Do you feel disturbed? I looked at him in surprise. My eyes full of questions. How do you know? To be honest. Really. It's better to just lie quietly in the friend list than to chat without anything meaningful to say. He said, I just didn't want to make you feel annoyed. So I didn't rush to chat with you on WeChat. I was thinking of celebrating your birthday next month. You know my birthday? I knew it since high school. It's easy to remember. October 10th. Perfect in every way. 6 on that very night, Zephyr broke through the barriers and successfully made a crack in my heart that had been sealed like cement. The next day happened to be Saturday. I asked Spark out for a meal and took the opportunity to ask her about Zephyr. He knew a lot about me. But I knew very little about him. I said, did you stop Zephyr from chasing me in high school? Spark said, yeah. I did warn him not to chase you in high school because he really didn't look like a good boy at that time. Spark added, but he hasn't had many girlfriends over the years. There was only one he was going to marry. But that girl was too difficult to deal with. And her family members were also troublesome. They really made Zephyr angry. Once his temper flared up, no one could stop him. So he decided not to get married and has been single until now. Spark also said, he asked me about you on his own initiative. I don't know where he heard the news that you got divorced. I think he's quite steady now and doesn't fool around. So, I just want you two to give it a try. I listened silently throughout. Spark got anxious and poked me with a fork. Aurora. Say something. What should I say? That I don't want to get married in the future either? That's exactly what I thought. Getting married is really too troublesome. Well, you two can date then. You're both people who don't believe in marriage. Spark blinked her eyes playfully. But I don't know why. I seem to have a knot in my heart that I couldn't undo. I always felt that I couldn't let go. And I was more afraid of being hurt again. On October 10th, my birthday, Zephyr actually organized a birthday party for me. It was a small gathering. And all the people who came were my close friends. With the blessings of Spark, Harmony, Hadin Salselble and Sai, Xiaomi and other friends, I made a wish. At the moment when I blew out the candles, Zephyr stood opposite me, smiling at me in the light of the candles. Since then, he gradually integrated into my life. He wasn't overly attentive to make me feel disgusted, nor was he hot and cold to make me suspicious. He grasps the sense of propriety just right. When I was with Blaze, I was always worried about losing him. But when I'm with Zephyr, I feel completely relaxed. Probably because we're no longer young. We can see many things more clearly and don't think they're that important. We care more about our current state of mind. Without expectations for the future. We actually live more freely. Under Zephyr's arrangement, we've tried almost all the newly opened restaurants recently. So when my colleagues in the company discussed it, I said I had been to all of them. And they couldn't help but gossip. Sister Aurora. Is that man who often picks you up after work your boyfriend? Hey, heading to Thelwide session. I've seen him too. He's really tall. Probably around 1.9 meters. They chattered around me. And I just smiled and said he was a friend. Seeing that I didn't want to talk more, they didn't ask further. But the news spread privately. In late autumn, the company organized a team-building activity to Pinghu Lake in Juyin Mountain. There is a newly opened resort hotel by the lake, which is very beautiful and is said to be a popular check-in spot. As soon as the email notice was sent out, everyone was very excited. Actually, during the company's team-building activities, family members or friends can be brought along. But the boss is an elderly single female leader. To avoid upsetting her, there is an unwritten rule in the company that family members and friends are generally not allowed to participate in team-building activities. 2 days before the departure, I told Zephyr about the company's plan to go to Pinghu Lake in Juyin Mount and for team building on the weekend. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Your company really knows how to choose a place. I was actually planning to take you there this weekend. I can't ask for leave easily during the company's team building. I actually don't really want to go with my colleagues. You want to go with me?" Zephyr looked at me and asked, his eyes full of expectation. I didn't shy away and nodded at him. On the morning of the team building activity on Saturday, according to the original plan, the bus departed from the company gate at 7 o'clock sharp. My colleagues arrived one after another, and the female boss also came. She rarely wore sportswear today and looked several years younger. The last one to arrive was Blaze, who actually came with Siren. The moment I saw them getting on the bus, Amity sitting next to me couldn't help but swear. Several colleagues who were on good terms with me privately sent me WeChat messages, complaining that Blaze's move was really too much. But I was thinking, did Sonny go to his grandparents' house on the weekend? As a father, Blaze would rather bring his mistress out to play than his son. Was he deliberately preventing me from seeing Sonny? From the moment I saw them, I couldn't calm down. And they happened to choose two adjacent seats diagonally in front of me to sit down. There was only an aisle between us, and the space in the bus was limited, so it was hard not to see them. Amity rolled her eyes so much that it seemed they would roll to the sky. Are these two people deliberately trying to disgust you? Not to mention you. I'm also disgusted, the little girl whispered in my ear. And I just felt that this journey would be extremely tortuous. Blaze, that bastard, is really heartless. When the female boss saw Blaze leading Siren onto the bus, she didn't show a good expression either. Everyone maintained an awkward silence throughout the journey, and only Blaze's supervisor reluctantly said a few words to smooth things over. The tour guide didn't know the inside story and even started an interaction on the way. Since the drive to Juyin Mountain took 3 hours, to kill time on the way, they played the old-fashioned game of passing the flower while the drum was beating. Whoever got the flower had to sing a song. When the flower reached Siren's hand, the tour guide happened to shout stop and handed the microphone to Siren with a smile. This woman knew how to play the game. She held the microphone gracefully and said, "And I'll sing, Happy Breakup. Happy breakup. Wish you happiness. You can find someone better." She was deliberately singing this song to mock me. Siren's voice was melodious and beautiful, but it made me want to vomit. Amity silently held my hand beside me. When the flower came to our side, the red silk stopped in my hand. Amity was correct and took the red silk from my hand. The tour guide came over and handed the microphone to her, asking, "Sister, what song are you going to sing? Ugly people make more trouble." After Amity announced the song title, the other colleagues burst into laughter. After she finished singing the song, the tour guide handed the microphone to me and said, "I saw that the red silk landed in your hand first just now, and then this little sister beside you took it. The rules of the game can't be broken. You should also sing a song." Amity rolled her eyes. How could this tour guide be so unreasonable? I didn't refuse. I took the microphone and sang a song called Million Years Ago. It is said that when you are in a low mood, singing a melancholy song gives you a stronger feeling. When I finished singing the song, the bus was so quiet that it seemed empty. The tour guide was at a loss because of this sudden silence. Our boss sitting in the front said, "Let's stop playing the game. Be quiet for a while." Only then did the tour guide stop. I leaned against the window and suddenly missed Zephyr very much. I wonder what he will do this weekend. I took the initiative to send him a WeChat message, asking him what he was doing. Instead of calling me rashly, he first asked me on WeChat, "Is it convenient for you to answer the phone? Have you arrived at the hotel?" Me, "Not yet. I'm still on the way. It's not convenient to answer the phone in the bus." Zhu, "I'm packing my things and getting ready to leave too." Me, "Where are you going?" Zhu, "There's a sudden arrangement. I'm going to talk to someone about something." Me, "I should have known I wouldn't have participated in the team building." Zhu, "What's going on? It seems that you're not happy." Me, "Yeah. It's really disgusting." Zhu, "Who made you feel disgusted? Who has the nerve to do that?" I typed out a few words through gritted teeth, "A bitch and a bastard." I was almost made to cry by this bitch and bastard. It's so bullying. Knowing that our relationship is so awkward, Blaze actually dared to bring his mistress out and show off in front of me. Who the hell is he showing off to? The bus drove slowly into the mountains and soon stopped at the entrance of the hotel. It was indeed a resort hotel with a great sense of design. No wonder it was so popular. And many internet celebrities came to check it out. There was a row of luxury cars parked at the entrance. With a long face, I wore a black fisherman's hat and stood up as soon as the bus door opened. Amity also cooperated with me and quickly pulled me out of the bus. Finally, having fulfilled my obsession, I smelled the fresh air. I took a photo of the magnificent entrance of the hotel and sent it to Zephyr. "I'm here." Zhu, "What do you think of the hotel?" Me, "It's really nice. It's so beautiful." Just as I sent the message, Zephyr's call came through. The moment I heard his voice, my nose inexplicably felt sour. After just a few words, he noticed that something was wrong with my voice and asked me, "What's wrong? Did you suffer such great grievances?" At first, I didn't want to tell him the reason. But since he kept asking, I told him everything that had happened on the way. Zephyr said, "I didn't expect your ex to be so unethical. If you don't want to participate in the team building activity this afternoon, you can just ask for leave and rest in your room." I kicked the gravel at my feet. No way. If I ask for leave now, others will immediately know that I'm deliberately avoiding it. Then they'll really think that I can't let go of him. Zephyr couldn't help but laugh. "You really think a lot." Yes, Hedy too. I do tend to think too much and have many concerns. He comforted me for a long time afterward, chatting with me all the way from checking in until I entered my room. I was sharing a room with Amity. When she saw me hang up the phone, she leaned over and asked if I was complaining to my boyfriend. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was he my boyfriend? Zephyr and I had been getting along for a month or two, and he had mentioned dating several times, both explicitly and implicitly, but I hadn't given a clear response. I'm not brave enough, nor strong enough. I'm afraid of being disappointed again. The team building activities in the afternoon were all amusement projects, and we had to cooperate and act in various boring games. Siren probably really wanted to show off in front of me. She stuck to Blaze's side the whole time, putting on an act of a coquettish woman who believes that being charming is the key to a good life. Blaze fell for her act. Even though she was a few years older than him, he doted on her like a daughter. I watched the whole thing with a cold eye and didn't try to hide it. I don't know when the female boss sat down beside me. While sipping an iced Americano, she said, "You have a great attitude. Do you want to consider joining the president's office? I need an assistant now." I turned to look at her in surprise. There was no sign of anger or joy on the female boss's face, and I couldn't tell what she was thinking. She said to me, "Think about it. Let me know when you've made up your mind." I looked at the iced Americano in her hand. In the late autumn of November, she was still drinking something cold. Indeed, a ruthless woman is invincible. There was a bonfire party after dinner. Everyone gathered around, chatting and laughing. Blaze drank too much again. In front of everyone, he lifted Siren's face and kissed her. Siren pretended to be reserved and shy, and chided him. "There are so many people here. And your ex-wife is sitting over there. This isn't very appropriate, is it?" Only then did Blaze remember and turn to look in my direction. He scratched his head awkwardly. I had a feeling of indigestion all day. I felt stuffy, couldn't taste my food, and kept feeling like vomiting. All I could think about was that it would be great if Zephyr were here. At least I wouldn't be in such a mess. A few of my colleagues who were watching the scene and didn't mind stirring up trouble said in a sarcastic tone. Come on, Aurora. You should find someone soon too. Don't let Blaze be too smug. That's right. Didn't we hear that a handsome guy often picks you up from work a while ago? Why didn't you bring him here? I was too lazy to pay attention to them. Amity couldn't stand it anymore. With a lollipop in her mouth, she said, our company has a rule that we can't bring relatives or friends to team building activities. Someone didn't follow the rules. Why don't you ask him why he brought an unrelated person here? The young girl was full of spirit, and her words silenced those colleagues so that they didn't dare to say anything more. I lowered my head and looked at my phone, thinking about Zephyr. As I was thinking about him, his call came through. The moment I answered the phone, my throat tightened. He spoke first. Were you thinking about me? I was stunned. How did you know? You've been staring at your phone for a long time. Were you waiting for my call? I stood up abruptly, staring Amity. Zephyr asked me again, did you miss me especially today? His smiling tone greatly soothed the depression and irritability in my heart. I said, how do you know everything? Where are you now? Aurora. Turn around. I'm behind you. The moment I turned around, Zephyr's figure was right in front of me. He was standing by the infinity pool. There was a terrace of moderate height between us. He took steps. Walking down step by step. Walking towards me step by step. At this moment, the defenses in my heart crumbled. All my precautions and self-isolation vanished. To hell with worldly ethics and the unpredictability of people's hearts. I should dare to love and hate. Who's afraid of whom? Zephyr walked up to me under the gaze of everyone and asked me with a smile. Surprised? Unexpected? I stared at him stupidly and said, why are you here? Weren't you supposed to have a last-minute arrangement to talk to someone? Zephyr nodded and said, yes, having fulfilled my obsession. The arrangement was to come to find you and talk to you about something. About what? About falling in love. My heart jumped to my throat. I asked you several times before, and you didn't give me an answer. I think today is a good opportunity, so I specifically came to ask you again, would you like to be my girlfriend? If you want to get married, I can propose to you now. After saying that, he took out a ring box from his pocket. Amity watched all this with her eyes wide open, smiling like an auntie. She covered her mouth and nodded at me, signaling me to agree quickly. I looked at Zephyr. He was tall and was looking down at me, smiling gently and subtly. I cleared my throat and said softly, I don't want to get married right now. Let's just fall in love. Okay, I'll listen to you. As Zephyr spoke, he opened the dark blue oval ring box from Harry Winston. Inside was a shiny, perfectly cut square diamond. He put it on the middle finger of my left hand, and the size of the ring fit just right. How did you know the size of my finger? I looked up at him and once again thought that this man in front of me was truly incredible. Zephyr smiled slyly. I've held your hand, so I have an idea. After saying that, he took the hand on which I had just put on the ring and said as we walked, with me here, I won't let you be wronged again. Zephyr's voice was neither too loud nor too soft, and everyone present could hear it, including Blaze and his siren. Zephyr held my hand firmly and led me away under the eyes of everyone. We hadn't walked a few steps when the head concierge of the hotel ran over from not far away. Boss, your room has been arranged. Zephyr leaned close to my ear and said, stay in the suite with me. It's much more comfortable than your standard room. But my attention was all on what the manager had just called him. What did he just call you? Zephyr said calmly. He called me boss. I looked at the manager. He looked at Zephyr. And Zephyr looked at me. I own this resort hotel. After Zephyr said that, he led me, who was dumbfounded, all the way to the suite. It turned out that he had been engaged in cultural tourism development. He owned several resort hotels and characteristic homestays in the province, along with Hephaestus and his regular company operations, which meant he had a substantial business. He held my hand, and we strolled slowly in the garden-style hotel. The wind was gentle that night. The moonlight was gentle. And I was deeply attracted to the person beside me. We're all adults. Once the atmosphere reaches that point, it's hard not to do something. The moment the door closed, Zephyr pressed me against the wall. In the quiet night, all that could be heard was the sound of our lips and tongues intertwining. As we kissed, I started crying. I started with soft sobs and finally ended up crying softly in his arms. I said that I had felt so miserable today, facing two jerks alone. Zephyr said that he had come too late and should have set off earlier in the morning. I said that I was already very grateful to him. Seeing him was like seeing my savior. He had silently avenged me. Zephyr said that from now on, I would be his support. I was crying so much that my body was shaking. All the long-suppressed grievances and cautiousness came back to haunt me at this moment. Zephyr kept kissing me. As he kissed me, he said, "I wasn't brave enough when I was young. And I missed you." I cried. He said, "All these years, I've met the wrong people. In fact, deep down, I still can't let go of you." I said, "I've been divorced. Had a child. And I'm not young anymore." He said, "It doesn't matter. For me. As long as it's you. That's enough." That night, he set free the me who had been imprisoned for too long. That night, I decided to let go of all my concerns and enjoy a relationship without any burden. When I was with Blaze before, I didn't really feel much love because in that relationship, I was always the one giving. He loved me much less than I loved him. Perhaps this is why seeing him with Siren made me feel sick. More than that, I couldn't figure out why I had dedicated my youth, charm, and budding feelings to such a person. Zephyr's appearance woke me up like from a dream. How could someone who truly cares about you be willing to let you be wronged? Early the next morning, I went to Amity's standard room to pack my things. I threw the room card to Amity and told her that I didn't plan to go back with the company's bus. The little girl had just woken up and was lying in bed stretching. She watched me quickly pack my luggage and praised me. "Sister Aurora, your boyfriend was so handsome last night. You don't know that after you were taken away by him." Blaze was completely stunned. His girlfriend was so angry. But she couldn't show it. I felt so satisfied seeing her frustrated expression. Just like people like to read satisfying stories in novels. In real life, everyone also likes a clean and decisive counterattack. I truly thanks Zephyr for giving me a helping hand. When Zephyr and I were about to leave the hotel and head back, the company's bus also stopped in the square in front of the hotel. Many colleagues were already preparing to get on the bus and were gathered at the door chatting. I changed out of the unified team building clothes and wore a casual black dress. With my sunglasses on, I didn't care about anyone. Zephyr's car was parked right in front of the hotel. Accompanied by the hotel manager, he led me to get in the car. Coincidentally, all my colleagues were standing by and could see everything clearly. It was a black colonnade with a golden spirit of ecstasy emblem. The head of the company's administrative department saw me and wanted to come over and chat. I was all too familiar with her behavior of flattering the powerful and bullying the weak. When I had just divorced Blaze, she had talked a lot of nonsense, both openly and secretly. I directly bypassed her and walked up to the boss to greet her. "Ms. Zhang, I won't be going back with the company's bus. I've thought carefully about what you said yesterday. And I can transfer to the new position at any time." The female boss rarely smiled and tilted her chin in Zephyr's direction, saying, "I really appreciate this counterattack. I'm looking forward to your report on Monday." Just like that, under the gaze of everyone, I followed Zephyr on the way back. Just like the dust raised by the wheels, I left behind my past and welcomed a new beginning. The end of the full text.